Listen, I watched a video with Judge Mathis, and I seen a lot of comments of people saying that after all those years, the wife needs to just stay and suck it up and live in another room. And mostly, I've seen men saying that, but a lot of women were saying this. And I'm like, do these people not realize neglect is a form of abuse? Like, I don't know if we know that.
The most child form.
Neglect is a form of abuse. So you're telling a woman who's being abused to just stay there, just deal with it. Whether it was vice versa, if a man is saying my wife is neglecting me, and even she's like, yeah, I'm neglecting him for years, you're not going to tell that man to just sleep in the other room. Like, so I don't know why we're telling women to just stay and deal with it. And we see why so many women file for divorce. If they're being neglected or abused in any way, that woman's just not going to stay if the man's not changing. If they get some counseling, work it out, great. But if the man's not willing and he's taking her for granted, I mean, why should she just stay and put up with that? That's not peaceful. We want to have peaceful lives, especially as we age. We want to be traveling, relaxing. Nobody wants to have like drama, especially when you have money. Why I'm gonna be miserable in the house when I got money and I could be traveling?
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. So I'm glad that Judge Mathis like took that ownership and it's like, I'm neglecting my wife. But at the same time, a lot of people don't think this, but omission to me is a form of a lie. Him omitting at the end of that video, okay, maybe he didn't want to tell his business, that's fine. But as a judge, as many times as I've seen his show, when people omit things, he'll call them crackheads. He will run these people off of the stage when he doesn't like what they got to say, and he calls them liars, crackheads. I've seen every name in the book. So it's like, but then he does the same thing. It's like, wow, Judge, that's very interesting, that omission that you did at the end of that video. But it's not our business anyway. I hope that they do work it out because I love seeing people stay married. I really do. But I don't think women should stay in something that they're being abused and neglected in. So at the same time, the man has to want to change. He has to actually change, not just say it and speak it and talk it and tell the world, but actually with your actions change. I don't remember what y'all was talking about just now, though. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Something. What was y'all just talking about, though?
Purpose and career, I think.
Yeah, they was talking about providing now, man provides, and talking about vids are mistaken, you guys.
Oh, like balancing home life. It's just like that's like asking a man how does he balance doing what he likes to do for fun. He's gonna make time for it. Like, I don't know any man that just doesn't make time for what he likes to do for fun. If he likes playing basketball, he's gonna play basketball. If he likes video games, there's no way you have to ask him, how do you balance playing video games? If that's what that man want to do, he's gonna go play video games. Like, what? This is like common sense. I'm not even being funny because a man makes time for what he wants. We all know this. So it's about wanting to and actually doing it. That's it. Like, make the time for it and do it. It's not complicated. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
Oh no, man. I agree with that, but at the same time, a guy that is working, busting his balls, working 2 jobs, whatever. That's
maybe he got to change what he's doing. Maybe he should start a family business.
Well, no, I
maybe
agree.
he should work with his family.
Well, no, I couldn't say that because I'm an avid believer that everyone shouldn't be entrepreneurs. That would probably bring on more stress for that man and their family. But I agree. I 100% understand and I agree with what Balance is saying. But there are men that disconnect themselves from what it is that they enjoy to do in order to get shit done, and that's a reality that may not, and I would even say with most women that are single mothers, they will experience the same exact thing where they find that they lose themselves because they're working, they're taking care of home, and they're dealing with the kids, so they have no time for themselves. So if we can acknowledge that women go through that, then men absolutely go through that.
But when it's a partner, when it's 2 people, then you don't have to go through that alone. It's a little bit different when you're in a relationship.
I agree, and that's in an ideal relationship for sure.
All right. Go ahead, Chanel. What are your thoughts about this, man?
I don't have too many thoughts on the part as far how does men do it, because I think that's an important question for a man to answer. Because men just I think that's better for a man answer. I think sometimes when there's a question that men should answer, I think sometimes us as women we're trying to figure it out for them, and we start answering stuff and saying things. So that to me, that's something that I just like. I think I let the guys do that one because I can't tell no guy how to balance that.
Mhm.
Each situation is different. Each relationship is different. And one thing I can say about the Judge Mathis situation, I've been to his show about 3 or 4 times in my lifetime, and his wife was always there sitting up front. Right before session, he always let everybody know this is my wife. She fly too. The first time I saw her, she had on some tall leather boots past her knees, and she just came from the club or something. And she walks out right before him every time. And every time I went, they don't show it on TV, but when you're actually in the audience, every time she's always been there in the front. So I'm just curious, like how long she did that. So clearly she was doing that with
He
him
he
when he had
he'll
his
shout her
show.
out too.
hmm
He'll shout her
So
out. Oh, my wife is in the audience.
yeah, all
So,
the time.
so it almost makes you want to believe maybe he's flying out. Because you remember he said he moved the show to LA, so she's a part of the show. So what's all the flying out for then?
Well, I told you part of it. He did
Other
say
stuff.
he was hanging out with his
You
friends.
know,
He admitted that. Yeah.
Do y'all see Peace thing?
If he's in LA for 3 weeks shooting, then I mean I would assume that he's going to hang out with his friends in LA during that time period.
Can't not to say that he shouldn't have men and women alike need time with the boys and the girls, right? That's not the complaint. But the complaint is if you're spending more time with the boys and the girls instead of me and tending to your relationship, then that is what becomes the problem.
I think it's I think that's why he said it in the chat. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but it sounds like it's these community trips, and we all know what happens on these fly out vacation, these fly out business trips. So
What?
I think his wife may be because this sounds a little it's some
Too much.
information we're missing right here.
Mhm.
I mean, clearly there's something we're missing. Like, because if you're scheduling everything to be away from your wife, clearly you want to be away from her. There's something there. There's a disconnect there where you're fine being away from her, and you're scheduling everything, your vacations, your work, everything is planned to be away from her. So that needs to be addressed, whatever that is. You know what I mean? Like I've never been married, so I can't imagine. But what I'm saying is that needs to be addressed. Why do you want to be away? It's the same way when you in a relationship and you pull up in the driveway and sit in the driveway for 50 minutes or 45 minutes before actually walking in the house. Something needs to be addressed. Why are you doing that? What are you running from? What are you trying to avoid? And that needs to be dealt with head on.
It also is dependent on, I don't know the nature of his job exactly, but thinking more along the lines of like, if you're a professional athlete, you don't have control over your time, right? They have control over your time. So you are going to be on the road a lot and away from your family. But a woman who marries a man going into that, then I don't think she can really complain in regards to him being away from home because of his job. That's not a true, and I've actually heard that. Depending on what the job is, the nature of the job requires you to be gone for a certain. But if you're coming in a relationship knowing that, I don't think you necessarily have an argument for that, unless when he is home, when he has that time off, he's choosing that time to spend with his boys, right? It's like we already have a limited amount of time. So when you are home, I do expect me and the family to be prioritized because your job keeps you away from work so long. So even that is even learning how to balance the short amount of time that you have. Even if you want to spend time with the boys, it may be, you know what, y'all come over to the house. My wife might cook something up for us or whatever. We go watch the game. So you're still present, right? And not hanging out. But it's just finding that balance so people are feeling that their needs are being met in a relationship. That's what it all boils down to.
And let's just take in consideration, because there was something that you said about his purpose. I would assume that he was a judge first. I think the show came after the marriage, right? But and of course, judges don't travel like that. But again, the show seems like the show is taped in the city they live. This seems to be a complaint of him always leaving the city in which the show is taped and where they live. So I think this is some outside stuff that's taking place. And they do have a show. They had a show, and it was a really good show. They're very family-oriented people. I liked the show. But I just really feel like there's some information that we're missing.